Hi everyone. We are going to continue on our linear functions today. So we have been working on doing slope-intercept form and working from there. Slope-intercept form, if you need a quick review, was when we did y equals mx plus b. We were able to graph from that. We were able to say, hey, the b in the formula is our y-intercept, which is where you can put a point on the graph where the line will connect to the y-axis. The m was our slope, so we were able to go from that point and count our rise over our run. So if it was, for instance, a half, I would go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and so forth. If it was 3/5, it would be 3, then 5. We have to remember that when we're doing that, our top number tells us to go up or down, and our second number tells us to go left or right. Now, sometimes we get a little confused. Should I go up? Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I go down? My best advice to you is that after you make a point, say, is this making a positive slope or is this making a negative slope? And then look back to the equation and say, what should I have? And so if your answer to it's making a positive slope and my equation shows a positive slope, you're doing it correct. And that's a way to check to see if you're doing it correct. So today we're going to talk about slope-intercept form still, but we're going to start talking about what's called standard form. You will see standard form right here. So this is standard form. AX plus BY equals C. I don't know why mathematicians decided to give so many letters to so many different things, but a lot of the things mean the same thing here. So the C, the reason why we're not seeing an MX and we're not seeing a B is because you'll see as we manipulate this standard form, those aren't actually the MX and the B. So we're going to manipulate this form and turn it into slope-intercept form. Because this form is very good for finding my x-intercept and my y-intercept, which I'll go over a little bit later. However, if my x-intercept and my y-intercept are close together, I'm not able to graph a line from that. So I have to make sure that I can graph a line. So that's why I'm changing it to slope-intercept form. So that's what we're doing today. But I still want to tell you a couple more things about this standard form. So this standard form is given to people, like I said, when they want to know what the x-intercept and the y-intercept are, because it's easy to find out from these. But I'll also mention that A is usually written as positive. Now you're going to see in a lot of the problems we're doing today, A is not always written in positive form, positive integer. However, it should be. If it's in true standard form, our A should be in positive form. So that's just kind of to note. All right, so how do I manipulate this equation? Well, this is the same as manipulating any equation we've ever done the entire year. So I'm adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing, and I'm doing it to both sides because I want to keep my equation even. I don't want to do something to this side and make it look like this, or do something to this side and make it go like this. So in order to keep our equation equal, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And we will continue doing that throughout today. So we're really practicing our solving equations and manipulating equations today and getting to graph along the way. All right, so I'm going to move my head over here. Sorry about that for being distracting. All right, so The first thing is steps to how to convert it. We want it to say y equals mx plus b. And so if I want y equals mx plus b, then I have to know that my x that's currently on this side has to move over to that side. And then we're going to want our b or our y alone. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be doing this first step here, which is add or subtract the ax to move to the other side. So I'm going to take it from here and I'm going to move it over. How do I do that? Well, I use my inverse operation. So if ax is positive, I'm going to subtract it. If ax is negative, I'm going to add it. Okay. Then my step 2 is that I'm going to divide all the terms by b. I'm going to just really make this important. When you move your ax to the other side, it is really important that you rewrite the equation, because when we divide by b, there's lots of things to that. Okay? All right. So I'm actually going to skip 1 and 2. And I'm going to scoot down to number 3. I guess I should keep that up there. So I'm going to scoot down to number 3. So if I'm looking at number 3, it says 5x plus 6y equals 12. Well, like I said, first step, I am going to add or subtract the ax to move to both sides. So my 5x is positive. So I'm going to subtract 5x to both sides. Now you guys know me, I really enjoy having my line that divides my sides, so I know I'm doing it to both sides. You don't need this line, but I always put it. So I subtract 5x to both sides. What am I left with? I'm left with 6y equals negative 5x plus 12. Please note, it is really important that you rewrite that, because now my second step is to divide everything by b. Well, the coefficient to y, which is b, is 6. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6. But there's something super important, and please don't forget. So on the one side, yes, I'm going to get just y, because 6 divided by 6 cancels each other out. I'm left with y. On the other side, I can't divide just the 12 divided by 6 or just the 5 divided by 6. I can't do that. It's not allowed. I have to divide them both by 6. And the reason that is because this addition sign. If you remember, order of operations says you have to do what's inside the parentheses first. Well, anytime you have a problem all in the numerator, all in the denominator, we had to do all of that first before we could divide. So it's super important that you remember and listen very closely. I am going to divide negative 5 by 6, and I'm also going to divide 12 by 6. Because I know this is going to be my slope, that negative 5 divided by 6, I'm going to leave it as a fraction. And so you'll see my answer is y equals negative 5/6x plus 2. Negative 5 divided by 6 is negative 5/6. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And so there I now have slope-intercept form. I know right away my intercept is 2 and my slope is negative 5/6. And so I would be able to graph from there. So I've taken my ax plus by equals c and changed it into my slope-intercept form, which allows me to then graph the line. Pause, rewind if you need to, but we're going to do another one. So here I've got number 4. Number 4, first thing I'm going to look at, and again, like I said, the true standard form, that a should be a positive integer. Because it's a negative integer, it's not technically the true standard form. These are just more problems that we're using to practice to manipulate. So if my ax is negative 2x, I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Once I've added 2x to both sides, I'm now at 6y equals 2x minus 24. Notice that if that has a negative integer, see that negative 24, it stays negative. And I show that it's negative through that subtraction, okay? Here I've got my equation and I need to divide my second step, divide by b. And so I'm going to divide by 6 to both sides. On my left-hand side, I'm going to get just y. On my right-hand side, I'm going to do 2 divided by 6. It doesn't come out nicely, so I'm going to leave it as a fraction. 2/6 is not an okay fraction. We are well into our math. You guys know so much about math. It is important to simplify. And so that becomes 1/3, and I'll do 24 divided by 6 as well. You'll notice that in between this one, I've got a subtraction sign because that subtraction sign was up above and it has to stay there. All right, we're going to do a couple more, and then I've got some practice ones for you. I just wanted to kind of show you these ones. Oh, I lied. I skipped too fast. I did want to, or we go over it. Sorry. Okay, so let's talk about number 9 real quick. On number 9, what am I going to do? So at this point, you should be telling me, go ahead, tell it to the computer, tell it to the person next to you, you're going to subtract 5 from both sides. You're then left with 2y equals negative 5x plus 6. What are you going to do next? You divide by 2. When I divide by 2, I end up with y equals negative 5 over 2x plus 3. Now here's where I'm allowed to take my slope-intercept form, and I can graph it. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that and I'm going to graph it. So I'm going to think, how do I graph? Well, 3. 3 means something. 3 means that's where I'm supposed to put where it crosses the y-intercept. So I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, dot. Okay? And then I'm going to look at negative 5 over 2. Is that a positive slope or a negative slope? And you should say negative, which means my line should look like this. So I know I'm going to go down 5, 3, 4, 5 over 2. And I could go down 5 and over 2 or up 5 and over 2, but I don't have enough room. So then I go ahead and I've got my graph. So this just kind of allows us to figure that out. All right. We are now going to, now I can't remember which one, number 11. Oh, yes. Okay. So number 11 here, I wanted to talk about this one in particular because there's nothing in front of x and there's nothing in front of y. So what am I supposed to do here? Well, manipulate it. So just making sure that our equations stay equal. We're not kind of messing with it. As long as we do something to this side and this side, we can manipulate it. We wanted to say y equals mx plus b. Y equals the slope x plus the y-intercept. Subtract x to both sides. So now I'm left with, and this is really important, see that how it says minus x up here in the original? That means that when I rewrite it, that minus has to follow. So that's actually a negative x right now. So now I have negative y right now. So that's actually negative y. And so now I have negative y equals negative x plus 5. Whew, lots of negatives. Slope-intercept form. That does not have a negative y. It has to say just y equals. So how do I get rid of a negative y? Well, I remember that if I don't have a coefficient, there's this like imaginary 1 right there, right? So if there's that imaginary 1 right there and I want to get rid of that negative, I can divide both sides by -1. Do that, I'm left with y equals x minus 5. Wait, where'd that negative go? But for the x, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Notice that 5 was positive, but because I divided by -1, it became negative. And instead of writing plus a -5, I just wrote -5. Okay. Then I went to graph and I go down to my -5. I know that that is a positive slope because in front of x is positive. So I'm going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And what you'll see here is I go ahead and I ask myself, does that show me a positive slope? And I would go, slope guy says yes. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and make my line. All right, we're going to do one more together, and then I'm going to have you do some on your own. So for this one, what am I going to do? Add 8 to both sides. Very good. And now it's not letting me click. Did I not do this one? Oh, I didn't do this one. All right. Sorry, guys. I thought I had. Oh, yes. Okay. So I want you guys to do it. So right now, hit pause. Do this problem number 12 and see what you get. And then when you're ready for the answer, hit play. So hitting pause. Hopefully you did it. And you should have gotten y equals -2/3 x. Notice that I don't have plus anything. That's okay. That just means that the y-intercept is at the origin, okay? So here, and the way that happened is our first thing is that we added 8 to both sides. When we add 8 to both sides, I ended up with -12y equals 8x. That's okay. I just didn't have a plus anything. And then when I went to graph it, I graphed my line. It should look like that. Number 13, if I went ahead, go ahead, pause it, give it a shot. Hopefully you hit play. You got an answer? You should have ended up with y equals 1/4 x plus 1 with a line that looks like that. The one thing is make sure that we're going up 1 over 4. Your line isn't looking like this. It's looking more like this. If you want to go ahead and do the ones that are up here, you can go ahead and hit pause. And you should have gotten y equals 2x minus 1 with a line that looks like that. And our last one that we skipped over that I was going to do with you was this one. So hit pause. And you should have gotten y equals -half x minus 3, which gets you a line that looks like that. All right, boys and girls, message me if you have any questions. Again, the main thing that we were doing today is we were changing our standard form into slope-intercept form. And so we were doing that by moving our AX over and then dividing by B. The one thing that we had to remember when we were dividing by B was that we had to remember that we were dividing both of the one side. So that made my slope, and it also allowed me to get my y-intercept. All right, so that's about it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you all later. Have a wonderful day.